Good day! I am Nicole Lebosada.
Hi, my name is Ritchie Ladion.
I'm Honeybay Guinocan and we are Group 1.
So take note, we will be going to have an icebreakers and some games wherein a person who can correctly answers the questions will be receiving a reward. Have fun! And we are the first group who will be discussing about the quantitative analysis approach, how to develop a model, the role of computers and spreadsheets, the problems and the implementations made in quantitative analysis approach. Traditionally, business decisions have been based on subjective factors. Subjective factors known as psychological factors because these are internal factors that determine the consumption function. The formal study of using mathematical tools began in 20th century. Quantitative histories start with database available in print format. Quantifiers then move these into computerized databases. Quantitative analysis is based on numeric data analysis, modeling, and mathematical calculations. Quantitative analysis can be used to solve a wide variety of problems in business, government, healthcare, education, and more. Operations management is a set of activities that creates value in the form of goods and services by carefully managing the business operations to produce and distribute products and services efficiently and effectively. It increases the profit and reduces the cost. The three major functions are the marketing, finance, and operations. A costly part of an organization since large percentage of the revenue of most firms is spent in the operation management function. Operations management involves using quantitative analysis methods to help people analyze complicated business processes and make good decisions. These techniques are useful for understanding business complexity and uncertainty. Now, let's discuss about the quantitative analysis approach. Quantitative analysis is a scientific approach to managerial decision making. As you can see in the illustration, quantitative analysis includes the raw data into quantitative analysis and into meaningful information. Raw data includes words that participants use, diagrams of environments, observations, documents, memos, transcripts, and pictures. Only information collected by the researcher before any analysis has been conducted is considered a raw data. Quantitative analysis involves the investigation of factors leads to meaningful information that they can take action and aid for making a decision. In solving real problems, both quantitative and qualitative factors must be considered. Quantitative factors might be those are the different investment alternatives, interest rates, inventory levels, demand, or labor cost. Quantitative factors refers to the financial numbers that reflect the health and profitability of a company. Qualitative factors such as the weather condition, state and federal legislation, the outcome of an election, technology and breakthroughs, and more are decision outcomes that cannot be measured. So these are the steps in making a quantitative analysis approach. First, we'll be going to discuss the defining the problem, developing a model, acquiring input data, developing a solution, testing the solution, analyzing the results, and lastly, the implementation of the results. First is defining the problem. The first step is to develop a clear and concise statement of the problem that gives direction and meaning to the subsequent steps. This is a statement about an area of concern, a condition to be improved, a difficulty to be eliminated that needs deliberate investigation. It is necessary to concentrate only on few of the problem solving. The right problems is very important. If a problem is difficult to quantify, specific and measurable objectives may have to be developed. Next is developing a model. Quantitative analysis models are realistic, solvable, and understandable mathematical representations of a situation. Quantitative models are powerful tools for informing conservation, develop, and implement conservation actions. Models, as you can see in the illustration, such as the mathematical model, is an abstract model that describes the behavior of a system, or the scale model, a representation or copy of an object that is larger or smaller than the actual size of the object being represented, or even the schematic model. Quantitative analysis models generally contain variables, both controllable and uncontrollable, and parameters. Variables are measurable quantities that are subject to change and are generally unknown. Controllable factor, called as marketing mix, includes product, price, place, and promotion. Uncontrollable factors, often called as environmental factors, which are out of control. Parameters are known quantities that are a part of the problem. Example given are the cost per second rate for the advertising. Next is acquiring input data. Input data must be obtained for the model to make it useful, and they must be accurate. The GIGO rule, or the garbage in and garbage out rule. The garbage in and garbage out rule is a concept common to computer science and mathematics, that the quality of the output is determined by the quality of the input. Next is developing a solution. The best or the optimal solution to a problem is found by manipulating the model until a solution is found that is practical and can be implemented. Common techniques used are the solving equations, trial and error. Trial and error is a fundamental method of problem solving characterized by repeated, varied attempts which are continued until success. Next is the complete enumeration, which is the trying of all possible values. And next is the algorithm, which is the series of repeating steps to reach a solution. The next step is testing the solution. Both input data and the model should be tested for accuracy before the solution can be analyzed and implemented. Collect additional data from a different source to validate the accuracy of both the model and the model input data. Results should be logical, consistent, and represent the real situation. The next step is analyzing the results. Analyzing the results helps in evaluating the financial instruments and making predictions for making a decision. It determines the implications of the solution. Implementing results often requires actions and changes in an organization. The impact of actions or changes needs to be studied and understood before implementation. The sensitivity analysis determines how much the results of the analysis will change if the model or input data changes. It is a model that is only an approximation of reality. Next step to quantitative analysis approach is the implementation of the results. The implementation incorporates the solution into the company. Implementation can be very difficult because people can resist changes, or many quantitative analysis efforts have failed because a good, workable solution was not properly implemented. Changes may happen over time, so even successful implementation must be monitored to determine if modifications are necessary. So next is the quantitative approach and modeling in the real world. Quantitative analysis models are used extensively by real organizations to solve real problems. Meaning by extensively is that in the real world, quantitative analysis models can be complex, expensive, and difficult to sell. Following the steps of quantitative analysis is an important component of success, but not a guarantee.
Let's take a look at a simple mathematical model of profit that flashes on the screen. Profit equals revenue minus expenses. We all know that this equation is the basic equation of the profit. As you can see, there are another equation of the profit. Profit equals revenue minus fixed cost plus variable cost. Profit equals selling price per unit times the number of units sold minus fixed cost added to the product of variable cost per unit and number of units sold. To help us easily remember the formula, this is the profit equals Sx minus F plus Vx. Profit equals Sx minus F minus Vx. So S equals the selling price per unit, F equals fixed cost, V equals variable cost per unit, and X equals number of units sold. So, expenses represents the product of unit cost multiplied by the number of units, and variable cost are the product of unit cost multiplied by the number of units. So, let's take an example. The company buys, sells, and repairs old clocks. Rebuilt spring sells for $10 per unit, and fixed cost equipment to build spring is $1,000. Variable cost for spring material is $5 per unit. So, this problem we need to find the selling price per unit, the fixed cost, the variable cost per unit, and then the number of units sold. So, the selling price per unit is equals to 10, and then the fixed cost is equals to $1,000, and then the variable cost per unit is equals to 5. And then the number of spring sets sold is still unknown. It's still X. Next is the formula. Profits equals Sx minus F minus Vx. So if sales equals to 0, so the profits equals negative 1,000. So if sales equals to 1,000, the profits equals 10 times 1,000 minus 1,000 minus 5 times 1,000. So the profit is $4,000. Companies are often interested in their break-even point, or BEP. The BEP is the number of units sold that will result in zero profit. So it has the same formula, but we will substitute already the profit to 0. And then let's solve for X. We have F equals S minus V times X, and X equals F over S minus V. So BEP is equals to fixed cost over selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. Therefore, BEP for precious time pieces is equals to 1,000 times 10 minus 5 is equals to 200 units. Sales of less than 200 units of rebuilt springs will result in a loss. Sales over 200 units of rebuilt springs will result in profit. So, let's take another example. Bagels R Us. Assume you are the owner of Bagels R Us and you want to develop a mathematical model for your daily profits and break-even point. Your fixed overhead is $100 per day and your variable costs are 0.50 per bagel. You charge $1 per bagel. So, the formula is profits equals price per unit times number sold minus fixed cost minus variable cost times number sold. So, profits is equals to $1 times number sold or the X minus 100 minus 0.50 times number sold. So, let's take it to the BEP. F equals $100 and then S equals $1. V is equals to $0.50 and then the formula BEP is equals to F over S minus V. So, BEP is equals to 100 over 1 minus 50, 0.50. So, the BEP is 200 units. As we all know that when the number of units sold is equals to 200, so the profit is 0. Next is the advantage of mathematical modeling. Models can accurately represent reality. Models can help a decision maker formulate problems. Models can give us insights and information. It can show the profitability of the business. Models can save time and money in decision making and problem solving. It can save time because it is easier to solve and collect data. Number 5 is a model may be the only way to solve large or complex problems in a timely fashion. For example, in your daily basis, you can see where you lose or gain profits. Next is, a model can be used to communicate problems and solutions to others. It may share because the data that are used in the problem is not restricted information to the companies. The next one is the mathematical models categorized by risk. Mathematical models that do not involve risk are called deterministic models. Deterministic models generates the exact outcomes in the given set of conditions. We all know that all the values used in the models will complete certainty. So, kung yung given mo is mali, yung outcome mo talaga magiging mali. And the next is mathematical models that involves risk, chance, or uncertainty are called probabilistic models. It was based on theory of probability or it predicts the future. Values used in the model are estimated based on the probabilities. The next topic is the role of computers and spreadsheet models in the quantitative analysis approach. Computers and spreadsheet models can help develop a solution, testing the solution and analysis approach. Since mathematical models are used, these steps require mathematical calculations. Two computers programs can be used to make this step easier. The number one is the QM for Windows or quantitative methods for Windows. Next is Excel quantitative methods. I know that all of you know already how to use the Excel. The QM for Windows. It is easy to use decision support system for use in POM. POM stands for Production and Operation Management and QM courses. It is the main menu of the quantitative models. I hope that you can see clearly the examples that I given in the screen. So you can see there is main menu. The main menu consists of File, Edit, View, and etc. And the next is Toolbar. The toolbar consists of Save, Paste, and etc. It has instruction, the data area or the work area. And lastly, the utility bar. Next is the Excel QM's main menu version 2003. Just select the QM and main menu and the list of the menu for Excel QM just drops down. While in the version 2007, you can see it in Adds In tab, then select QM to see the modules or the menu in Excel QM. If you are already in Excel, just enter the data of the fixed cost, variable cost, and revenue or profit. Then compute the BEF in units and dollars. Then construct the cost volume analysis graph. So finally, here are the example of the complete data in Excel QM.
And next, the possible problems in the quantitative analysis approach. Okay, defining a problem. Problems are not easily identified. Okay, the first issue is that while defining a topic, quantitative analysts should or must often consider opposing opinions. When it comes to inventory issues, for example, managers have at least two perspectives. Inventory is frequently considered excessive by financial managers since it represents cash that cannot be used for other investments. Sales managers, on the other hand, frequently believe that inventory levels are too low despite the fact that high levels of inventory may be required to fill an unexpected order. If analysts accept any of these assertions as the problem definition, they have basically embraced one management's points of view and should expect pushback from the other manager when the solution arises. So it's important to consider both points of view before stating the problem. The next issue is that problems do not exist in isolation and are not the responsibility of a single department inside the company. Inventory is inextricably linked to cash flow and a variety of manufacturing issues. A shift in ordering policy can wreak havoc on cash flow and disrupt production schedules to the point where inventory reductions are more than offset by increased finance and production costs. The third issue is that people have a proclivity for framing problems in terms of possible solutions. The argument that inventory levels are too low suggests that the remedy is to increase inventory levels. If a quantitative analyst starts with this premise, he or she will almost certainly discover that the inventory needs to be increased. A good solution to the correct problem is far superior to an optimal solution to the wrong problem in terms of implementation. When a problem is characterized in terms of a desired solution, the quantitative analyst should inquire as to why the solution is wanted. By digging deeper, the underlying problem will emerge and can be appropriately defined. There is, however, the fourth problem even with the greatest issue statements. As the model is being built, the problem may alter. It's not uncommon for difficulties to develop or go overnight in today's fast-paced business world. The analyst who proposes a remedy to a problem that no longer exists will not be credited for timely assistance. One of the advantages of mathematical models is that once they've been created, they may be utilized again and over again whenever similar situations arise. This makes it very simple to find a solution in a timely manner. Next, developing a model. Fitting the textbook model. One issue with developing quantitative models is that a manager's perspective of a problem may differ from the textbook solution. The majority of inventory models aims to reduce total holding and ordering costs. Some executives dismiss these expenditures, focusing instead on the cash flow, turnover, and customer happiness. Such managers are unlikely to accept the results of a model based on holding and ordering expenses. This is why the analyst must fully comprehend the model rather than simply using the computer as a black box into which data is entered and results are generated without a thorough comprehension of the process. When estimating other sorts of inventory costs, the analyst who understands the process may explain to the manager how the model takes these other elements into account. If other elements are essential, the analyst can take them into account and adjust the computer solution before it is applied using sensitivity analysis and sound judgment. Understanding the model. The trade-off between the model's complexity and its simplicity of comprehension is a second important challenge. Managers will simply not use the results of a model they are unfamiliar with. Sophisticated problems, on the other hand, necessitate complex models. To make the model easier to grasp, one trade-off is to simplify assumptions. The model loses one of its realism, but it gets some managerial acceptance. Acquiring input data. It's not always easy to gather the data needed for a quantitative approach to issue solving. The majority of data created in a company comes from simple accounting reports, which is an issue. Inventory data is collected by the accounting department. For example, in terms of cash flows and turnover. Validity. Because there's a scarcity of good, clean data, whatever data is available must often be distilled and manipulated before being used in a model. Developing a solution. The first difficulty in developing solutions is that while the mathematical models we utilize are rich and strong, they may not be fully comprehended. Managers are fully silenced when they should be critical due to the aura of the mathematics. The second issue is that quantitative models typically only provide one solution to a problem. Most managers would prefer to have a variety of options rather than being forced to choose among them. A better method is for an analyst to present a number of possibilities while emphasizing the impact of each on the goal function. This provides managers with an option as well as information on how much deviating from the ideal solution will cost. Non-quantitative aspects can also be considered, allowing problems to be evaluated from a broader perspective. Testing the solution. Quantitative analysis frequently yields forecasts of how things will function in the future if certain adjustments are implemented today. Managers are frequently asked how fantastic the solution appears to them in order to obtain a sense of how well it will actually function. The issue is that the complicated models often produce solutions that aren't immediately apparent. Managers are prone to rejecting such options. The quantitative analyst now has the opportunity to walk the management through the model and assumptions in order to persuade him of the results' validity. Analyzing the results. The outcomes of a solutions testing must be examined in terms of how they will affect the entire business. You should be aware that even minor organizational changes can be difficult to implement. Okay, lastly, implementation, not just the final step. Management may fear the use of formal analysis processes will reduce their analysis processes, their decision-making power, or just feel uncomfortable about using them. Even though many business decisions can be made intuitively based on hunches and experience, quantitative models are becoming more and more useful in a variety of situations. Some managers, on the other hand, are concerned that using a formal analysis process will limit their ability to make decisions. Others are concerned that it will reveal the inadequacy of certain past intuitive judgments. Others are simply uncomfortable with having to change their thought processes in order to make official decisions. These executives frequently oppose the use of quantitative tools. Action-oriented managers may want quick and dirty techniques. Many action-oriented executives dislike the lengthy, formal decision-making process and prefer to get things done as soon as possible. They like dirty approaches that can produce results quickly. When managers see some high payoff QA findings, the stage is set for persuading them that quantitative analysis is a valuable tool. Management support and user involvement are critical to the success. Manager 98%, users 70%, and QA 40%. We've known for some time that management buy-in and user participation are crucial to the success of quantitative analysis programs. Lack of commitment by quantitative analysts. Analysts should be involved with the problem and care about the solution problem. Be an integral part of the department facing the problem. Analysts should work with users and take their feelings into account. Example, not insisting on the users to follow computer-calculated order quantities. And this is a great example of how strong bonds can help with model implementation.